Hello everyone, welcome back to the fourth episode of my Home Lab series. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to install and configure a domain controller on my HP ProLiant DL360e server. To do that, I have already installed Windows Server 2025 Data Center Edition on my server, and now I'm going to promote this server to a domain controller. So let's get started. Before we actually begin installing the domain controller role, there are a few important steps we need to take care of first. So let me walk you through them one by one. First of all, make sure you are logged into a server with a local administrator account. Here you can see on my screen, I'm already logged in as a local administrator. This is very important because only the administrator have a required right to promote the server to a domain controller. Next, we should set a meaningful host name to the server. So to do that, just right click on system properties. And here you can see some random host name of this system. So I'm just gonna set a easy name, for example, MSK DC01. So giving server a clear names helps a lot later, especially if you build a large home lab or more domain controllers. So I'm just gonna click on next, and it takes some times and it requires restart the system. So I'm just gonna restart it. Now the system has been successfully restarted. Now I'm gonna check the host name. Now here you can see the host name has been changed to MSKDC01. Next, it's highly recommended to assign a static IP address before making the server a domain controller. So to do that, I just need to open a server manager. So just type a server manager in a start menu. And here you can see the dashboard of server manager. And in the local server, you can see the additional information like the computer name, and it's still in a work group, not in a domain. And this physical server has a 4 Ethernet ports, and currently it is connected to a Ethernet 3 via Ethernet cable, and IPv version 4 is assigned by DHCP, which I need to change to a static. So just click on directly this option, and here you can see only Ethernet 3 is enabled, and just go to the properties and then go to the Internet Protocol version 4 and go to the properties again, and here you can see the IP address is assigned automatically through DHCP, and by clicking on this option you can change it to the static. And if you are not sure what to fill in this field, just open the command prompt and type the command ipconfig, and here you can see the dynamic addresses assigned by DHCP, and I'm just take these values and make it as a static IP, same like IPv version 4 address is a 192.168.2.28, subnet mask is the same, and the default gateway is 192.168.2.1. So I'm just gonna fill the same information like 192.168.2.28, and subnet mask will automatically pop up, and in the default gateway it's 192.168.2.1. So in the DNS server, I fill the same IP of the server so it can answer its own query. So 168.2.28, and just click on OK and close this. And here it takes some time, and yeah, now it has done. We can also see in the server manager by refreshing. Yeah, you can see now it has been set to the static IP 192.168.2.28. And yeah, now you can see the server has the permanent IP address, and it will not change when the server will restart and the lease has been expired. So this is the main reason why we assign a static IP address. Next, it's always a good practice to ensure the server is fully up to date. So I'll quickly open the Windows update and check for the updates. And here you can see the server is already up to dated. And the last, let's check the date, time, and the time zone. So just simply go to the date and time settings. So Active Directory is very sensitive to time synchronization, and if the clock is off by more than 5 minutes, authentication and Kerberos ticket can fail. So here you can see the time is correct and the time zone is set properly. And these are some prerequisites that should be done before installing the domain controller. Alright, now that we have completed the prerequisites, let's move on to installing the Active Directory domain services role and promoting this server to the domain controller. So first open the server manager. So here just select the add roles and features. So on this page, it's just say before you begin. So that's just the information. So I just click next. Here we need to choose the installation type. I'll just select role based or feature based installation, which is a standard option when adding server roles like Active Directory domain services. The other option is a remote desktop services installation that is used for setting up virtual desktop environment, which we don't need here. So I'll just click the default one and click on next. On this page, we need to select the server where we want to install the role. You can see my server listed here with the host name and the IP address. Since this is the only server in my pool, it's already selected by default. So I'll just leave it as it is and just click next. Here we can see a list of all available server roles. From this list, I'll select Active Directory Domain Services. As soon as I selected Active Directory Domain Services, this windows pop up. It's asking for add some additional tools that are required. So I'll just go ahead and click on add features. Then click on next to continue. Here we can add extra features if we want to, but since we already selected Active Directory Domain Services, all the required features are included automatically, like group policies management, remote service administration tools, and more. So I'll just go ahead and click on next. This page gives the overview of what Active Directory Domain Services is. It explains the ADDS stores information about users, computers, and other devices on the network and helps admins manage them securely. It also shows that ADDS requires DNS, which we will configure during the setup. Since this is just an informational screen, I'll just simply click on next to continue. Now we are on the confirmation page. Here you can see the summary of everything that will be installed, including Active Directory Domain Services, group policy management, remote server administration tool. So everything looks good. So I'll just go ahead and click install to begin the installation. Now the installation has started. This process usually take couple of minutes. So I'll just let it run. Once the installation completes, we'll move on to the important step, promoting the server to a domain controller. The installation has completed successfully. As you can see, the Active Directory Domain Services role has been installed, but the server is not yet a domain controller. To actually promote it, we need to complete the post deployment step. So we can either just click on this to promote the server, or we can close it, and you can see here is a yellow amber sign. And here you can see we can also click on this option, promote this server to a domain controller, to promote the server. So I'll just simply click on this option. Now we are at deployment configuration page. On the screen we have three options for deployment. Add a domain controller to a existing domain. So this is if you already have a domain and want to add another domain controller for redundancy or load balancing. And next is add a new domain to existing forest. This is for when you already have a forest but you want to create another domain inside it. And the third is add a new forest. This option is for starting completely fresh when you don't have any existing domain or forests. Since this is my first domain controller in my lab, I'll select add new forest. For the root domain name, I'll just simply use my msklab.local as my domain name. The .local is used because it's an internal lab domain, not a public one. It's a best practice to include .local as it keeps everything private and avoid conflict with the real internet. Then I'll click the next and my forest has been created. On this page, we set the domain controller options. I'll leave the forest and domain functional level at the latest available Windows Server 2025. This ensure we'll get the newest features. For the specific domain controller capabilities, I'll keep DNS server and global catalog checked since this is a first domain controller, so it needs both. Finally, I'll set a DSRM password, which is used for recovery, and confirm password. And I'll click on next. Here my server doesn't find any existing DNS, so it shows a warning about DNS delegation, which means it's looking for parent DNS server to delegate from. But since this is a new domain and we are installing DNS on this server itself, we do not need that. So I'll just ignore this and click on next to continue. Here we need to set the NetBIOS domain name. Since my domain name is msklab.local, it is automatically shows msklab here. So this is fine for me and I just click on next. On this page, we choose where to store the AD database, log files and the sysvol folder. The default location are fine for the lab setup, so I'll leave them as it is and click on next. So here we got the summary of all the settings we have chosen, the domain name, functional level, DNS and the other options. So all looks fine. So I'll just click next to continue. So here it runs the prerequisite check. So at the top you can see that all the checks have passed, which means we are ready to install. So there are couple warning like DNS delegation warning. It's normal in a new forest, so we can ignore it. Since everything looks good, I'll click install to start promoting this server to a domain controller. Here you can see the progress as the server is being promoted to a domain controller. This process takes a few minutes and once it's finished, the server will automatically reboot to apply the changes. Now the server has been successfully restarted and here you notice the login screen now shows the domain name msk/administrator. So now I'm gonna type the same password that I used before. And here you can see I'm successfully logged in, which confirms the server is promoted to the domain controller. So to verify it, I'll go to the server manager. Here I'm back on the server screen. Now I'll open the server manager to verify it. And here you can see we have a new option available, ADDS and DNS. This means those roles have been successfully installed. So if I go to the local server, you'll also notice the server is no longer part of the work group. Instead, it is now joined to the domain msklab.local. Next, I'll go to the tool menu. Here we got several options like Active Directory, Administrative Center, Domain and Trust, sites and service and more. For now, I'll open to the Active Directory user and computers. Here you can see my domain msklab.local and inside it we have already some default containers like computers, domain controllers and users. These are the starting points for managing and organizing all your Active Directory objects. So this verifies that we have successfully installed Active Directory domain services and promoted this server to a domain controller. Next, I'll show you how to connect a client machine to this domain. Now our domain controller is ready and now it's time to connect the client machine to the domain. For this, I'm using my laptop. This laptop is running Windows 10 Pro edition and it's important to note that only certain edition of Windows like Pro, Enterprise and Education editions include the option to join a domain, and the standard Home edition does not support domain join. So if you have a Windows 10 Home edition, you cannot be able to join the domain. Next, before we actually join this laptop to the domain, there are a couple of things we should check. The first one is the same network. The client machine must be on the same network or a subnet as the domain controller. To verify this, here is the IP configs of my domain controller. You can see it's using 192.168.2.28 as its IP address with the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Now my laptop is also connected to the same home network, and when I check its network details in a command prompt with the command ipconfig/all, you can see it is also in the same subnet with the IP address is 192.168.2.25 with the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. This confirms that the laptop and domain controller are on the same network, which is required for domain join. The second thing is that the client must use the domain controller's IP address as its DNS server. Right now you can see my laptop is using the IP 192.168.2.1. That's actually the IP of my home router. So at the moment my laptop is relying on the routers for DNS queries. But to join this laptop to the domain, I need to change this IP to the domain controller's server's IP, this 192.168.2.28. This is very important because DNS is how the client discovers and communicate with the domain controller. Without it, the domain join will fail. So let's go ahead and change the IP of the DNS to the domain controller's IP address. So I'll right click on the network icon in the taskbar and open the network and internet settings. From here, I'll go to the change adapter option. Here I'll right click on my active adapter, in my case Wi-Fi, and I'll choose properties. Then go to the internet protocol version 4 and then properties again. So here in the DNS, I need to change the IP to the domain's IP. It is 192.168.2.28, 192.168.2.20, sorry, 2.28, and then I'll click on OK and close it. Now this laptop will use my domain controller as its DNS server, which is required for join the domain. Now let's actually join this laptop to the domain. For that I need to go to the my properties of the my PC, this PC. So from here go to the advanced options, advanced settings, system settings, and to the computer name option. You can see right now it is joined to the work group, and we need to change it from here and click here at domain and type the domain name. So I'll type the domain name that I created earlier, msklab.local, and I'll click on OK. So you can see it asked me for the credential. Since my domain controller is also new and I didn't create any users in the domain controller, so I will enter the administrator along with the password, which is administrator with the password. So you can see it is showing me welcome to the msklab.local domain. So I'll just simply click OK here. So now it is asked me to restart the laptop. So I just click OK to restart the laptop. So now the laptop has been successfully restarted. And also after the restart, on the login screen, I clicked on other user and typed the msklab/administrator and entered the admin password. Because it was the first login with a domain account on this laptop, it took a little longer, and now I am on the desktop with the domain account. So to confirm it, I'll right click on this PC and go to the properties. From here I'll click on the advanced system settings, and in the computer name you can see now it's no longer part of the work group. It's now joined to the domain msk.local. This confirmed that my laptop has successfully joined the domain msklab.local. Now you might be wondering that I had to manually configure the DNS on the client to make it work. That's fine for one or two machines, but in a real office environment with hundreds or even thousands of devices, doing this manually would be overwhelming for any IT admin. That's exactly why we use DHCP. With DHCP, we can configure that DNS IP in one pool, then all the client device automatically receive that DHCP in their settings. We can also configure the IP address, subnet mask, and gateway also, and then all the client devices automatically receive the correct settings when they connect to the network. This makes life much easier for IT admins and ensures consistency across all devices. So in the next video, I'll show you how to set up a DHCP server on a domain controller and how that helps automate this whole process. And yeah, thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.